Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Jai Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yashodanandana Bhajana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Rama Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada Ki Jai. ISKCON BBT Founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahansa Paravajakacharya Ashtotar to Sri Srimad, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Ki Jai. Ananta Kokti Vaishnavini Ki Jai. Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Srimad Bhagavad Gita Ki Jai. Samaveda Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Gauranga. Okay, so I have text 14. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay. On this third day of June, 2024 in San Diego, we're reading from Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, translation and commentary by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And we are in chapter 8, entitled Attaining the Supreme, text 14. Ananya Cheta Satatam Ananya Cheta Satatam Yo Mam Smadati Nityashaha Yo Mam Smadati Nityashaha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Tasyaham Sulabha Partha Nitya Yuktasya Yoginaha Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Ananyacheta satatam. Yo mang smadati nityashaha. Tasyahang sulabhakparta. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Ananyacheta satatam. Yo mang smadati nityashaha. Tasyahang sulabhakparta. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Ananyacheta satatam. Yo mang smadati nityashaha. Tasyahang sulabhakparta. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Ananyacheta satatam. Yo mang smadati nityashaha. Tasyahang sulabhakparta. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Ananyacheta satatam. Yo mang smadati nityashaha. Tasyahang sulabhakparta. Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Anyone online?
Ananyacheta satatam.
Ananyacheta satatam.
Yo mam sarati nityasa.
Yo mang smadati nityashaha.
Tasyaham sulabhakparta.
Tasyaham sulabhakparta.
Nitya yuktasya yogina.
Nitya yuktasya yoginaha. Ananyacheta, without deviation of the mind. Satatam, always. Yaha, anyone who, mam, me, Krishna, smadati, remembers, nityashaha, regularly, tasya, to him, aham, I am, sulabha, very easy to achieve, partha, O son of Pita, nitya, regularly, yuktasya, engage, yoginaha, for the devotee. Translation. For one who always remembers me without deviation, I am easy to obtain, O son of Pita, because of his constant engagement in devotional service. Purport. This verse especially describes the final destination attained by the unalloyed devotees who serve the Supreme Personality of Godhead in Bhakti Yoga. Previous verses have mentioned 4 different kinds of devotees: the distressed, the inquisitive, those who seek material gain, and the speculative philosophers. Different processes of liberation have also been described: karma yoga, jnana yoga, and hatha yoga. The principles of these yoga systems have some bhakti added, but this verse particularly mentions pure bhakti yoga, without any mixture of jnana, karma, or hatha. As indicated by the word ananyacheta, in pure bhakti yoga, the devotee desires nothing but Krishna. A pure devotee does not desire promotion to heavenly planets, nor does he seek oneness with the Brahma Jyoti, or salvation or liberation from material entanglement. A pure devotee does not desire anything. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the pure devotee is called nishkama, which means he has no desire for self-interest. Perfect peace belongs to him alone, not to them who strive for personal gain. Whereas a jnana yogi, karma yogi, or hatha yogi has his own selfish interests, a perfect devotee has no desire other than to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, the Lord says that for anyone who is unflinchingly devoted to him, he is easy to attain. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of his various personal features. Krishna has various plenary expansions and incarnations such as Rama and Nrsimha, and the devotee can choose to fix his mind in loving service to any of these transcendental forms of the Supreme Lord. Such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas. Bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform. One can begin simply by chanting Hare Krishna. The Lord is merciful to all, but as we have already explained, He is especially inclined toward those who always serve Him without deviation. The Lord helps such devotees in various ways. As stated in the Vedas, the Katha Upanishad 1-2-23, Yame Vaisha Vinute Ten Nalabhyas Tasyaisha Atma Vivinute Tanum Svam. One who is fully surrendered and engaged in the devotional service of the Supreme Lord can understand the Supreme Lord as He is. And as stated in the Bhagavad Gita 10.10, Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam. The Lord gives such a devotee sufficient intelligence so that ultimately the devotee can attain Him in his spiritual kingdom. The special qualification of the pure devotee is that he is always thinking of Krishna without deviation and without considering the time or place. There should be no impediments. He should be able to carry out his service anywhere and at any time. Some say that the devotee should remain in holy places like Vrindavan or some holy town, or some other holy town where the Lord lived. That's been corrected. But a pure devotee can live anywhere and create the atmosphere of Vrindavan by his devotional service. It was Sri Advaita who told Lord Chaitanya, "Wherever you are, O Lord, there is Vrindavan." As indicated by the word satatam and nityashaha, which mean always or regularly or every day, a pure devotee constantly remembers Krishna and meditates upon Him. These are qualifications of the pure devotee for whom the Lord is most easily attainable. Bhakti Yoga is the system that the Gita recommends above all others. Generally, the Bhakti Yogis are engaged in 5 different ways. 1. Shanta Bhakta, engaged in devotional service in neutrality. 2. Dasya Bhakta, engaged in devotional service as servant. 3. Sakya Bhakta, engaged as a friend. 4. Vatsalya Bhakta, engaged as a parent. And 5. Madhurya Bhakta, engaged as a conjugal lover of the Supreme Lord. In any of these ways, a pure devotee is always constantly engaged in the transcendental loving service of the Supreme Lord and cannot forget the Supreme Lord. And so for him, the Lord is easily attained. A pure devotee cannot forget the Supreme Lord for a moment, and similarly the Supreme Lord cannot forget his pure devotee for a moment. This is the great blessing of the Krishna conscious process of chanting the Mahamantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, Ananya Chetak Satatam Yomam Smatati Nityasha. So this is again, Krishna's stressing the importance of remembering Him. Remember this verse, I think we've quoted at least once before in this chapter, in regard to this chapter, and that is Smartavyak Satatam Vishno Vismartavyo Najatu Chit Sarva Vidin Shadaksur Etayor Eva Kinkara. To remember Vishnu, and Prabhupada makes the point when he gives the translation to this verse that Krishna is the original Vishnu form. So remembering Krishna. Always remembering Krishna and never forgetting Him. Smartavyak Satatam Vishno Vismartavyo Najatu. Vismarta means to forget, never forgetting Him. All the other activities or instructions in Bhakti Yoga, and there are many, are simply servants of these. Servants of these. Don't do this A, B, C, and D. A is, of course, chanting Hare Krishna, and chanting and hearing, and serving, coming to the programs, and studying the Shastra, all these do's. And don't do A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and all the way out to Z and beyond that will make you forget Krishna. We're very expert and experienced in forgetting Krishna. That's why we're here. So, and this is made much more feasible in the association of devotees. This is not a yoga that you go off alone somewhere and practice. Prabhupada, it's true that there are great devotees, Babajis, who spend most of their time alone chanting Hare Krishna. But even they come together and glorify Krishna together. And because this movement is in the line of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his teachings and his practice, as he showed by his life in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Bhagavad, and I forgot my iPad. I was going to read about Vrindavan Das Thakur, whose appearance day is today, but I forgot it, but maybe tomorrow. So Lord Chaitanya showed that he was always with other devotees. He was chanting and hearing among them, or he was among them as listening to the Bhagavatam and so forth. You read the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's very little time. There's a little bit where it's described Lord Chaitanya went alone here and there, but never for very long. This is very much, as we were describing this morning, a movement that is nourished by association. Sadhu Sangha. In fact, there's a verse, a very important verse in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the famous verse, Sadhu Sangha, Sarva Shastra Koi, Lava Mata Sadhu Sange, Sarva Siddhi Hoy. Association with sadhus, saintly devotees. Association with saints, repeated, Sadhu Sangha, Sadhu. All the Shastras say, Sarva Shastra Koi, even a moment's association can give you the seed to achieve full perfection. So that's why Prabhupada started the Society for Krishna Consciousness, and that's why there's always another festival coming up. There's always another program, and we all gather to go or to listen to. It's very much a social movement, and especially association with great devotees like Srila Prabhupada. This is invaluable. It's just to try to appreciate how the great fortune, after millions and millions of births in this world, and lying for countless eons in the causal ocean within Mahavishnu's body, waiting to be breathed out again. We don't know how many cycles we've been through with all of this. But now I got the great fortune of meeting Srila Prabhupada, even most importantly, as he himself said, through his books, through his words. There's this, the last year, 1977, was a very highly emotional year for the devotees. We were hearing about Srila Prabhupada's declining health in Vrindavan. And one passage in the 4th canto, I forget exactly which verse it was, where Prabhupada was stressing the importance of Vani over Vapu. Vani is the words, and Vapu is the personal form of the Lord, of the spiritual master. Now, when there is service available for the personal form, then one should definitely engage in that as far as possible. And wherever Prabhupada went, the devotees were very eager to serve him personally in any way. But more important, as he stressed, is the service of the message, of the words of the spiritual master. And Prabhupada said, I have put everything into my books. These purports are my emotional ecstasies and all of these different ways. So this collective reading and studying of Srila Prabhupada's book is very, important and fruitful service to the spiritual master and to Krishna. Krishna is very pleased when we are reading his words and these pure devotees' explanation of his words. So this purport, again, Prabhupada says, especially describes the final destination of unalloyed devotees who serve the Lord in Bhakti Yoga. So unalloyed, this comes up again and again. What does that really mean? An alloy is something that's mixed in. Now you have so many metal alloys. Steel itself is an alloy, isn't it? You have iron mixed with, I forget what, coke or something, the way they make it. So in the material side, alloys can be good. But when it comes to bhakti, you don't want anything alloy. You don't want to mix anything in. Because you're mixing something in means you're mixing something that's not devotional. And it's some kind of material desire or conception or something. No, that's why at the very beginning of the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, you find the definition of pure devotion. That's what we're dealing with. We're not dealing with some program of approaching Krishna or God or some demigod for material result. Go to the heavenly planets or whatever. No, that's antithetical to devotional service. It means completely free of the slightest tinge of personal selfish desire. That's what pure devotion is. And in that state, you can really experience the full rasa, the full bliss of the relationships that Prabhupada summarizes here. Now let's just run through those so we just remember those. The Shanta Ras. Shanta Ras is this neutrality. It means that there's no active service, but Krishna will use you when, for a certain function. Like it said that the flute is in Shanta Ras. It just waits and then it performs a very important function there, but it's not actively serving Krishna as such. So this neutrality, the land in Vrindavan, so many things are just passive. It's equivalent to the yogi meditating, meditating on Vishnu. It's close to that, but it's meditating on Krishna. So there's bliss there, but it's not as intense as the rasa even of servitude of the others, So bhakti really begins with dasya ras, and one thing is that all of the qualities of each previous ras are included in the next one. So what are the qualities of the neutrality or shanta ras? Is just always thinking of Krishna and being satisfied in thinking of him. Being satisfied, blissful, just thinking about Krishna, remembering. So Dasya Ras includes that. Certainly his servants are very satisfied thinking of Krishna, but they want to actively engage in his service. And Krishna, even in Vrindavan, he has servants. He has all these cowherd boys. Some of them are younger than him, and they just act as his servants. And then there's his friends of an equal level, and there's those who are a little older who also protect him. They're going toward a spectrum toward parental ras, because parental ras is very much a protective, like a parent, Mother Yashoda protecting Krishna. So there's like a spectrum of that. It's not all, you're purely in this ras or that ras. So dasya ras is inherent. That's why we always say, what is the nature? I think I read that in last night's class. This morning's class. I'm beginning so many classes, 3 in a row. Last week it was 4 in a row. Sunday morning, Sunday night. Anyway, so this was Sunday evening. I think it was twice in a row. Anyway, so what is it? What is the inherent, the sarup of the living entity? This is one worth memorizing. I really must say I haven't memorized all that many Bengali verses, but this is one that we should know. Jivera swarupoi Krishnera nityadas. Even just that one line. Jiva means of the jiva soul. Swarup. Now this word swarup is very important because it means our actual form, which goes along with our function, our actual activities as spirit souls. And we've lost touch with that. We may have, it's distorted. In other words, the material rasas or the material relationships are related to the spiritual ones, but they're tinged always with selfish desire. There's always some selfish aspect to it. And that's why sometimes they break, like how many divorces have there been, or friendships that were broken up because one guy or one woman tried to cheat the other one, whatever, In other words, it's very fragile. But to be in the spiritual world means it's absolutely pure and it won't break. It's there for eternity. So, the jivera swarupoi, the swarup of every jiva is to be a servant of Krishna. And it's not that Krishna's, the gopis or his parents are not servants. They're servants plus, and the servants in the most intimate way that pleases him even more than just being servants, you see. So you have the Shantaras, Dasaras, then of course Sakya. Sakya means friendship. And then you have his wonderful ecstatic pastimes with his friends that you read about in the Krishna book, or you read in the 10th canto. And those have such a wide variety. He plays all kinds of games. And then when he's on the earthly plane, there's this adventure where some demon comes and Krishna saves everybody, or swallows a fire, it's all kinds of things. And Govardhan Hill. Now, Govardhan Hill is said by the gopis to be Krishna's best servant. I don't know if you know there's a verse like that, where they're singing about him in chapter 21. This is called the Venu Gita chapter. And they have their song in separation. And it's a parallel in chapter 35, where they're also at home singing about Krishna, remembering him. So near the end of their song, which is about 10, 15 verses, they say this verse, Hantayam Ardhanamala Haridasya Varyo. Haridasa means the servant of Hari, servant of Krishna. And Varya means the best. So, Hanta, gopis, they're singing to each other, reminding each other of Krishna. This hill, now how is it this hill? They're at home. If you go to Vrindavan, you see Govardhan Hill is quite a ways from the village of Braja where they live. So how can I say this? So, well, there's so much meditating on Krishna that they feel like they're right there next to him. You see, that's what it explained in the commentaries. So they say this Govardhan hill is the best servant of Krishna. Best servant. Hari Dasa, the servant of Hari, Varya means the best. Handayam Adri is a mountain. Handayam Adri Abala means those who are not too strong physically. That's a word for ladies or girls. Abala. Handayam Adri Abala Hari Dasivari. Yad Rama Krishna Chadanas Padasha Pramoda is overjoyed to be touched by the lotus feet of Krishna and Balaram. You see, Krishna and Balaram are walking on right near Govardhan Hill, and they're very ecstatic just to be walked upon. Spadasha. The word is sparsha, but because of the meter, it can be, you can put an extra A in there. Spadasha. Spadasha Pramoda. Manam Tanoti Gogana Yostayot Pani Yasuya Vasakanda the Kandamulai. Handaya Madhadabalha Hadadastivari Yad Rama Krishna Tanadaspadasha Pramoda. Manam Tanoti, with great respect, it is offering to Krishna's dear friends, the cows. Manam Tanoti Sahago and his cows, Sahago Ganayos Tayoyat. And his friends, the cows, and Krishna himself, Pani Yusuya Vasakanda the Kandamulai. Wonderful fresh streams of water that they can drink, and the cows can drink. But Suyavasa means very freshly grown grass, highly qualified grass. Suyavasa, Kanda, the Kandamulai, edible roots and things like that they can snack on. And then that's Kandamulai, but Kandara are the caves that they can go into. When it's too hot, they can go in and get cool. When it's raining, they go in there, you see, or just go in there and play. And, do you imagine have caves you can play in when you're a kid? So that's, so for the cows, and his friends, and Krishna himself, this Govardhan is a place of great pastimes. So that's the Sakya Ras. And it's every day is fresh, new games they're playing, and teasing each other, having lunch. It's just this is their work. This is their job, to take care of the cows. So the cows are happy. They're feasting on fresh grasses, and the boys are working by playing along. That's their job. So that's Vrindavan. So that's Sakya Ras. Now parental Ras, all of us have been through one October, right? The Kartik month, when we sing that song, celebrating Krishna's stealing the butter and Mother Yashoda's relationship. And so that's, even more intense. Who could be a better friend than the parents of a child? So they're the friends, and they're serving his every need. So the service is there, the friendship is there, but their maintenance is there. And the anxiety for his safety, which is another rasa. That's another way of expressing the love. So that is the parental ras. And then the conjugal ras, the gopis, they have all of them. They're also maintaining Krishna. They're taking care of him. And they're his best friends and the servants. And they only have one thing in their mind, and that is how they can increase Krishna's pleasure. You see? And that's really the essence of the whole process of bhakti. So it's nicely summarized in this famous verse by Rupa Goswami. Anyabhilashada shunyam jnana karma dhyanavrtam anukulyena krishnanushilanam bhaktiruttama. Anya abhilashita shunyam. Now don't say shunyam. Namaon Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutadesha Madhibad. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharani Nirbhishesha. Everyone says shunyavadi. But it's not shunyavadi. It's shunyavadi. I'm telling you, take care of your longs and shorts, because otherwise you get into trouble. The second verse of the second line of the last verse of the Gurvashtaka, which is what we sing every morning. See how the U. I wish we could have a little class just on the Sanskrit pronunciation. There was one. I'm not going to name any names, but he has on the YouTube, and. He's giving all of these stimuli for love. They're called, I forget what they're called in Sanskrit, but they're different stimuli, like the flute. Mother Yashoda sees one of Krishna's discarded flute, she'll go into ecstasy because it's a stimulus for love. So even the chamra can be a stimulus for love, and he's describing all kinds of ways that in Krishna's Leela. but he was pronouncing it chamara. Chamara. It's chamara. I looked it up, and actually it can be pronounced chamara. Chamara is the tail, but mostly we have the chamara fan, chamara whiskey. Anyway, so but the words can be completely opposite. We're singing Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada. You've been in Mangalartik, you know. So Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada. It's very simple. Yasya, his, by the Guru's prasad or grace, we get Krishna's grace. That means you please the Guru and you please Krishna. Because what are the Gurus telling you to do? Serve Krishna, chant the holy name. You know this. So Yasya Prasadat Bhagavat Prasada. Then many devotees sing Yasya Prasada Nagati Katopi. Haribol. Sukanto. But it has to be Yasya Prasadan, because it's aprasadam. Aprasadam is just the opposite of prasada. It means absence of prasad. It means without his prasad, his grace, you can't make any advancement. But if you say Yasya Prasada Nagati Gatopi, with his grace, you can't make any advancement. That doesn't make any sense. So the long and the short, but even the more important one, the fun. Vancha kalpatarubhyascha. The long A's tend to become short. That's what happens. The vancha kalpatarubhyascha. So I want to analyze that, what that really means. So vancha means desire, as in desire tree. Kalpataru, vancha kalpataru, the desire trees. The devotees are like desire trees. Okay. But vancha is a whole different word. So you've had vancha kalpataru, you had vanchaka. Vanchaka means to cheat. Vancha kalpataru, I offer my obeisances to all wonderful devotees who are just like small alpa. Alpa means small. Vanchaka alpa taru means just like small cheating trees. You're offering obeisances. And so many, the vanchaka alpa. So long and shorts, Haribol. And the meter also, that's another lesson. So anyway, these rasas are what's awaiting us. And Jivara Sorupoi, Kṛṣṇa and Kṛṣṇa Das, the basic principle is every soul in any body is by the Sarup. This is what the Sarup, our original form, our original form, and with that form goes a function. In other words, we got just a form that suits our rasa. If you want to love Krishna and you feel most attracted to love Krishna as a friend, then your real form is a friend, and you get reborn as a friend in Goloka Vrindavan, your eternal form. So that idea of Sarup is very important. But the basic Sarup is with servants. Jivara Sodapoy, Kṛṣṇa and Nitya Das, eternally servant. But the next slide is also important. Kṛṣṇa tatasta shakti beda bed prakash. This beda beda phrase really should be, this is essential to Lord Chaitanya's philosophy as he taught it, the way he taught the Vaishnava philosophy. So first is tatasta shakti. That's the marginal. We are inherently marginal potency. We're spiritual by nature, you see. But because we're very, very small, we can be overwhelmed by the external energy. Krishna can't. That's why he's known as achyuta. Achyuta means cannot fall, or in Prabhupada's vocabulary, infallible. So, but we're definitely fallible. We're fallible. And that's why we're here. Why are we can we fall? Because of our smallness and because of our independence. Without that independence, everything evaporates. There's no rasa. All of these servants of Krishna, they're doing it voluntarily by their own desire. It's not that they're coerced at all. That's completely absent. Therefore, that free will is there, which means love is freely given. Then it's real love, but it can be withheld. And we, unfortunately, took that option. We became fascinated by the dualities of this material world, and we got covered over by Maya, wrapped up, covered, enwrapped. E-N-W-R-A-P-P-E-D. We were enwrapped, E-N-R-A-P-T. In our rasa with Krishna, in ecstasy, in rapture, right, enwrapped. But then we became enwrapped by Maya, wrapped up. My latest joke. Anyway, I'll maybe write a poem about it. So the verse by Rupa Goswami goes into a little more detail. Anya abhilashita shunyam, devoid of any other desire. And then he lists the 3 categories of desire that pretty much encompass all of it. Jnana, karma, dhyanavritam. Jnana, karmadi. So jnana has to do with desire for impersonal liberation, merging into the Supreme. That's a big distraction of some transcendentalists who are not trained properly. So jnana, karma is standard karma, trying to improve your material situation. That's fruit of activity. And then whatever else you can think of, adi. Now that can include yogic siddhis. That's not exactly jnana, it's not exactly karma, but it's a special category, but it's still self-centered. And that covers your devotional nature. So it's anavritam, not covered or alloyed, adulterated with any of these desires. So then what is it? That's what it's not. That's what to avoid. Anya abhilashita shunyam, devoid of other desires, such as desire for liberation, for material sense gratification, or some yogic siddhi. No. So what is it? Anukulyena Kṛṣṇa anushilanam. Shilanam means activity or behavior. Activity which is in the category of favorable for Krishna, means to please his desire. It really is to forget our separate desire, to have no desire separate from Krishna. I got to share this little phrase from the Sindarbhas. You've heard it before. Bhajaniya padama purusha sukha matra swasukatvam. So when you have these phrases, it's best to understand them. You start at the back. Swa, here we got this swa again. Swa means our own. Swa sukha tvam. So to have your own happiness, bhajaniya, to find your own happiness solely, matra, in bhajaniya padama purusha sukha. Matra in the happiness of the Supreme Person, Krishna. The worshipable Lord. Bhajaniya Padama Purusha. The Supreme Person who is worshipable, that's Krishna. Bhajaniya Padama Purusha. Sukha, happiness. Matra, only. Swasukatvam. One's happiness, finding only in the happiness of Krishna. That's bhakti. That's pure bhakti. If it's like 80% for Krishna and then 20%, for my own happiness, then it's not unalloyed, it's alloyed, see? It's not pure. So we're aiming for that pure bhakti, and that's what the Nectar Devotion is all about, that's what this movement is all about. So, and one of the symptoms of that, one of the indices or indications of that is ananya chetak satatam. Without the mind, without deviating, always satatam, remembering Krishna, yo mam smadati nityasha. The nityasha is also regularly, or really eternally, always. Tasya hamsa. Now, for such a person, I'm easy to attain. Yeah, but to attain that state of always remember Krishna is not so easy. But once you attain it, you're home free. Nitya yuktasya yogina, always linked to me in bhakti yoga. And then Prabhupada goes through the different rasas, as I mentioned. And, he's emphasizing the need to give up other desires. And this guy, nishkama. And then what are the qualities of our activity? Naishkarmya. Naishkarmya means completely free of any fruit of desire, personal desire. That's what naishkarmya is. In a chapter where I think we had this, one has to understand what is karma, what is vikarma, and what is akarma, you see? So karma has different meanings. It can mean just fruit of activity, or it can mean fruit of activity according to the rules of the Vedas, you see? When you distinguish it from vikarma, vikarma is certainly fruit of activity, but it's against all the rules, it's sinful, you see? There's also pious fruit of activity. That's what the whole karma kanda section of the Vedas is. Okay, you pay the priest, you make the big sacrifices, you live in a certain way, you perform fasts, austerities, penances, Prabhupada calls. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. And so it's not sinful as such, and if you do it successfully, you can go to the heavenly planets. You eventually come down, but you're not going to go to hell. Then you can start again. You may go to hell after that, but it's all free. You have free will. But it's covered. It's not bhakti. Even though it's Vedic, it's not bhakti, you see. But that's why we have the Srimad Bhagavatam. The Srimad Bhagavatam kicks out all of these cheating dharmas. And it's talking about the early Vedas. That's what Narada told Vyasa, is that you've written all these things, but you haven't completely and fully glorified the Lord. It doesn't say that you haven't at all. That was a mistake in the original editing. You were practically not glorified Krishna and Krishna bhakti. So many. I was giving the example of the Mahabharata. Mahabharata is great. It's got the Bhagavad Gita in it, you know. So but there's so much stuff in there that's not directly related to Bhakti Yoga. I worked on the Adi Kanda, the first part of it. It's huge, you know. I remember chapter 65, 70 or something. And it was all about Nagaloka. There's this planet below us, between here and the hellish planets. There's all snakes. They live on there. And they were naming the snakes. They went on and on with different names of snakes. I said, do I really need to know this? How is this helping me to become attracted to Krishna? That's why in this verse, I can't recall it now, in the first canon where it's saying how, I think Purport Brahma makes it very explicit, we don't need to read the whole Mahabharata. Read the Gita. The Gita is the essence of it. So it's not that he didn't do any writing about Krishna. This is such important. But the whole book is not solely and wholly about that. The Bhagavatam is the ripened fruit. The Gamakalpatadogalitam palam shukamakadamita drabasamyatam babata bhagavatam rasamalayam mohodaho rasika bhuvibhavaka. You won't find a verse like that in the Bhagavad Gita, you know, or even in the whole Mahabharata. So the Sanskrit is beautiful, the poetry is beautiful, and that third verse of the whole book says this is the ripened fruit of the tree of all of the Vedic writings, which is like a desire tree. You want to be a doctor? We got Ayurveda. You want to be an astrologer? We got Jyotirveda. You want to be a fighter? We got Dhanurveda. You know, there's all these Vedas within the vast Vedic literature. But if you want to attain perfection in your life, we got the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is wholly and solely dedicated to bhakti. So, maybe we've gone far afield here. Let's see. So, you know, it comes up again. A pure devotee always engages in devotional service to Krishna in one of the various personal features. And then he goes through the different... he says, you can become attracted to Ram or Lord Nrsingadev. We're reading about Prahlad Maharaj. He's always meditating on Nrsingadev, you know. But it's Krishna who can reciprocate all of these rasas. Nrsingadev is not going to reciprocate a friendly ras, or even a conjugal ras, you know. Basically, he's certainly not going to be your little child, little baby kitten, you know, to do a parental ras. So, Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming. Here. Sorry we missed the darshan. Okay.
I still feel the presence of Krishna.
Yes, that's good. The whole atmosphere is very holy. Hare Krishna. So, let's see, what else do we need to cover here? Yeah, so fixing on any form of Krishna, such a devotee meets with none of the problems that plague the practitioners of other yogas, because all the other yogas are ultimately self-motivated. I know when I started yoga, Hatha yoga, my sole motivation was just to become healthy. And that's most of these yoga studios, that's really the goal, right? Become healthy and better be able to enjoy better, you know, whatever. Meet another yogi, yogini, you know, that's there too. Let's face it. Huh? Yeah. Like they have this gym they just opened, you know, on Cass Street just recently. The Yard Gym. It was started in Australia and it's here. So it's not just you go there and you do your, you know, but there's a whole, there's guides, there are people who are, you know, training you. And there's music. It's all demonic music, you know. When I go, but it's loud music, you know, rhythm that you do your thing, you know. And obviously, you know, the ladies all come there in their tights, you know, they exercise, and the guys are there in their gym shorts, you know. So there's some attraction going on. That's one of the features. And there's people at 6:30 in the morning. There's a whole crew there, you know. Only Sunday they're closed. So it's not yoga, but yoga studios can be like that also. Let's face it. But bhakti yoga is not like that. It's very bhakti yoga is very simple and pure and easy to perform, and the goal is pure devotion to Krishna. Okay, any questions, comments? Maybe we'll read one more verse here. So, text 15. this is a very important verse. Mamapeta punarjanma dukkādaya mashāshvatam naptavanti mahātmāna saṅsiddhīṃ padamāṅgataha. So previous verse was, it was attaining Krishna. It was easy to attain him. You come to the point of always remembering him. And now, the result. After attaining me, the great souls who are yogis in devotion never return to this temporary world, which is full of miseries, because they have attained the highest perfection. Purport: since this temporary material world is full of the miseries of birth, old age, disease, and death, naturally, one who achieves the highest perfection and attains the supreme planet Krishna Loka, Goloka Vrindavan, does not wish to return. The supreme planet is described in the Vedic literature as Avyakta and Akshara and Padamagati. In other words, that planet is beyond our material vision. Avyakta literally means invisible. And it is inexplicable. I guess that's Akshara. But it is the highest goal and the destination for the mahātmās, or great souls. Paramagati, that's definitely. The mahātmās receive transcendental messages from the realized devotees and thus gradually develop devotional service in Krishna consciousness and become so absorbed in transcendental service that they no longer desire elevation to any of the material planets, nor do they even want to be transferred to any spiritual planet. They want only Krishna and Krishna's association and nothing else. That is the highest perfection of life. This verse specifically mentions the personalist devotees of the Supreme Lord, Krishna. These devotees in Krishna consciousness achieve the highest perfection of life. In other words, they are the supreme souls. So that one line there is always like what is that? They don't even want to transfer to any spiritual planet? I thought we should want to go back to Godhead. Where if you go back to Godhead, that's on the spiritual planet. So this has to do with what I call the evolution of one's desire in Krishna consciousness. And that's a basic principle, because you come to Krishna consciousness, probably many people come and get serious because they want some relief, some trouble in their life or some difficulty, and they find some solace here, the whole atmosphere and the chanting and everything. So that's fine, because that will bring them into association. But by hearing and reading and associating, one's motivation should evolve. And basically it evolves to wanting to go back to Godhead. Prabhupada gave that as an inducement all the time. Wanting to escape from the round of birth and death. This is a very, very fine motivation to keep you going in Krishna consciousness. Wanting to go back to Godhead, to be able to experience eternal life with Krishna. Nothing wrong with that. But even more advanced is that when the whole motivation in one's heart kind of just is, everything falls away but that principle that I outlined in that one line, in Anyabhilasha Dashunyam. Simply whatever Krishna wants. And that's what Lord Chaitanya teaches us. In the Shikshastika, and the Shiksha means instruction, he's instructing us. In the first verse, he gives all these wonderful benefits of chanting Hare Krishna. Right? And kind of in order. The first one is liberation. Right? It's like we're in a forest fire. Being in this material world is compared to a forest fire or being in the middle of an ocean without a boat, swimming, trying to survive. A very dangerous situation. But here he says the very first line, the first benefit of chanting is liberation. Cheto darpana marjanam bhava mahādavagni nirvapanam. What is mahādavagni? You know what it means? The great forest fire of bhava. When you hear bhava, it's a totally different word than bhava. I heard this, the same devotee who was giving the Chamara whisk was calling about the Bhava Sagara. But he wasn't talking about the ocean of ecstasy, he was talking about the ocean of birth and death. It's bhava. It's a whole different word, whole different meaning. Bhava means change. And it's come to mean the change of birth, old age, disease, and death. Birth, old age, disease, and death. So that's like an ocean, or in this case, a great forest fire that we're suffering in. Just like the first line of the Guru Vashtaka. Sangsara dhava nadalida. That dhava is the fire. No, I'm sorry, the anala. The dhava is the forest and the anala is the forest. Lidha, loka, all the people in this world are in this forest fire of birth, death, old age, and disease, but samsara damani loka tranaya. The spiritual master is just like a cloud of mercy raining down and putting and extinguishing that fire and saving. Tarine. So, the first thing he mentions in the whole Shikshastika is how just by chanting Hare Krishna together, you get free from that blazing fire. So you're liberated. But it goes on, the benefits go on. So, then, Shreya Kaita Bhatana gives good fortune. The lotus of good fortune is blossoming. It's the life and soul of transcendental knowledge. The knowledge that's already in the heart, and Krishna's in there, you can experience by the purification. The whole thing is purifying. Cheto Darpana Marjanam. It's already there. It goes on like that. But when he gets to verse number 4, he's teaching us how to pray. Krishna, in the mood of a devotee of Krishna, that's Lord Chaitanya. Nadanang, nadanang, nasundarim. Here's what I'm not praying for. Nadanang, nadanam, nasundarim. Nasundarim, believe it or not, Bhaktivinoda, he links that to the next word. Sundarim kavitam means very beautiful, very exalted, learning, being a very great scholar, I don't want that. I don't care. I don't want wealth. I don't want followers. I don't want, beautiful, attractive degrees, PhDs, whatever, or beautiful women. And kavitam, learning, kavitang vajagadisha kami, O Lord of the universe. All I want, mama janmani janmani shre bhavata bhaktara hoitaki to thee, is your pure devotion, life after life. The life after life means I'm not even interested in liberation. So he's not asking to go back to Godhead. He just wants a devotional service. Life after life. What does that mean? That means here. So he's teaching us that prayer is there, and if Krishna wants, he'll bring us back. You don't have to stay on, whatever. But the point is, even if you do stay, you'll be living on these two planes. You'll be with Krishna intimately. You're sacrificing so much that you become even more dear to Krishna. Anyway, that's the idea. That everything evaporates except that one desire to somehow please Krishna. Like the gopis. Why are they so famous? They gave up their homes, they gave up their good name, they ran out to be with a young boy in the middle of the night. They didn't care. That's what Krishna is calling them with the flute. So that's the highest. And then there's this whole thing how it was their spiritual bodies, so their other bodies were there with their husbands. They didn't even know, that they were with Krishna. All right, so it's getting late. Let me give you one little poem, and we'll resume tomorrow with another important, very important verse. Now before I leave this verse, describing this word, mamu pecha, if you attain me, dukali mashashtratam napnuvanti, you won't have to return to this world, which is dukaliyam and ashashtratam. An aliyah, this is the first line of this text 15 at the bottom of page 359. This is often cited just alone, this phrase, dukali mashashtratam, means that it is an abode of misery, of difficulty. There may be, intervals where you're kind of satisfied or happy or something, but the basic principle is birth, old age, disease, and death, and climate change, and threatening war, and fascism. Isn't it coming? It's there. It's out there. Drought, floods, tornadoes. Yes, we got tornadoes. Let's get out of here, right? So, and a shashvatam. And even if you find some happiness or peace, it's temporary. It'll go, a shashvatam. It's always changing. You're moving, So that's a very important description of this world. All right, so we will resume tomorrow with the next very important verse, 16, Abraham Abhuvanaloka. These are often quoted. All right, we have 1 minute. Some poem. And did I give the enwrapped thing? This is the seed of a new poem. That when we're in the spiritual world, we're enwrapped with our service to Krishna. E-N-R-A-P-T. Like rapture, right? But then when we become covered by turning our attention to the material world, we fall down into the material world. Then Maya, her illusory energy, wraps us up. And we become enwrapped, just like you're wrapped with this foil that we use all the time. So you go from one enwrapped to the other enwrapped, you see? Anyway, I'm going to work on a poem and integrate that. All right, it's getting late. So let's see. All right. Where Krishna lives, Oh no, that's a long one. That's too long. So it says, where blooming flowers spread their sweet perfumes, where clear Yamuna flows and songbirds sing, where all the land a lovely light illumes, Sri Radha and Sri Krishna gently swing. This pastime of their love in Braja's bowers forever charms their dearest devotees, whose hearts Sri Krishna's sweetness overpowers, obscuring his prodigious potencies. Whatever in this world we know as love is just a shadow of the love they feel. The wise aspire to learn the secrets of devotion's path and taste that love ideal. Okay, on that note, which is a C sharp, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. Vrindavan Das Thakur ki jai. I'm going to read about him tomorrow morning, I hope. Okay. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna.